The B'ezrat Hashem will continue in the third lesson. So basically, just a little summary up until now, there's two different types of melody, right? There's two different songs, right? There's the song that plays right now, which is the song of the Galut that we're in, and then there's the song that's going to play when Mashiach comes. So there's a way, basically what Rav Nachman was teaching in the first, second lesson, and now in the third one it's specifically about the song, the two different types of song, is basically teaching, how a person could reconnect and reunify between his heart and his mind in order to start hearing, this melody that's going to play. So the two different types of song, right? There's these two different birds, like we said, that the main reason why we're in Galut, and we also saw it in Egypt when Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Egyptian. So the next day, I think it was Or Datan or Aviram, they came and they said, Moshe Rabbeinu told them, why are you hitting your friend? Lama takere echa. He called him a Rasha. Why are you hitting your friend? He saw him. He lifted up the stick or whatever. He was gonna hit him. And he said, and so he answered back to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, what are you going to do? You're going to kill me like you killed the Egyptian? So Moshe Rabbeinu said, now I understand, right? I didn't understand what the reason for the exile was, but now that I see that there's people who go and speak Lashon Hara, right? Because obviously somebody saw him kill the Egyptian and then went and told someone else, and the word got around, which means it was because of Lashon Hara. So Chazal say, and I think Rashi brings it over there, that Moshe Rabbeinu saw now I understand the reason why there's Galut. So we see the blemish of the speech, right? This whole exile that we're in right now, hearing that the negative melody, is because of the blemish of the speech, which the blemish of the speech is basically the whole blemish of the Malchut Kedusha that we spoke about, because in order for a person to fix his Malchut Kedusha, to reveal godliness, in the world and in his whole being, he has to fix what's called his kingdom of holiness. And the kingdom of holiness depends on his speech. Because the speech, like we said, you take the breath in and then you take it out of your lungs and it comes through, it has the five valves in the lung, which correspond to the 5 books of Torah, which the source of the life of wind of the entire creation is in the Torah, and that's the wind that Hashem used when he was creating the world, Kiviyachol, when Hashem spoke out the words of the Torah, and it came out with that song, right? So the whole fixing, like a person's speech when he's breathing and he's speaking out words, the same way you run your kingdom, which is your business or your family or whatever it is, or a king running a country, or the way to do it is with the speech, because the speech is something that actually can build the memshala, the kingdom, the rulership, whatever it is, every person on his personal level, whatever he rules over. So the binyan of the Malchut Kedusha, the building of the kingdom of holiness, all depends on a person fixing his speech. And the biggest blemish of the speech, right, is the Lashon Hara. That's why we're in the Galut right now. There's a separation between the heart and the mind. That exile is because of the speech. And the way to fix it is to start using the speech in a good way and start listening only to that positive melody. And B'ezrat Hashem, one day we'll also figure out how to actually start hearing from within the bad melody, which is being in the state of Galut, of exile, start hearing also from that negative melody, hearing the positivity from within it. Because like we said, everything is from Hashem, right? So there's nothing that's even the worst things in the world, everything is Hashem. There's godliness in the darkest places in the world. So all that needs to be elevated and understood, translated in the right way. So over here, Rav Nachman is just giving a little summary, kind of explaining the little quote we brought from Rabbi Bar Chana at the beginning. So he says, Rabbi Bar Chana, Ledidi chazili haya kukta. So like we said at the beginning, he saw, he says, I was walking and I saw this big frog, right? And the frog was like the size of Agronia, which is a city. And the city of Agronia is like Shitin Bate, it's like 60 towns. It was really big. So Ledidi chazili haya kukta, what that means is, I was just looking a little bit at the numerical value of these words to try to figure out how Reb Nachman's explaining it. So it's tzfardea, like a frog in Hebrew, which is tzfardea. It says in the Arizal that it's built from two words. One is tzipor, and the other one is de'ah. So tzipor de'ah, tzipor means a bird, and de'ah means your understanding. So ledidi chazili, it means, ledidi means for me. Chazili means I saw. So chazi is also, right, to see, like Rabbeinu said in the first lesson, that, seeing, when a person sees, it's an understanding. When you see with your eyes, it means you're understanding something. You're attaining like a level of knowledge. Ledidi also means for me. So for me, meaning a person's complete shleimut is when his mind and his heart are connected, when he has that reunification between his heart and his mind, when the letter Aleph is complete. Because like we said, the word Adam, right, is Aleph, Daled, Mem. And if you take off the Aleph, then you're just left with Dam, which means blood. So blood means when a person is in that state of separation where all of his lusts and taivas and bad characteristics, everything's in control. And when he adds that Aleph to the word Dam, then it becomes Adam. That's the shleimut, that's the completion. And the Aleph is basically reconnecting the upper Yud and the lower Yud with, the Vav, which is the strength of the Torah, connecting the heart and the mind. Obviously by learning Torah the right way, like we explained in the first lesson. So Ledidi means for me, that's why the numerical value of Ledidi is 58, which 58 is Chen. Torah Aleph was all about how do we connect the mind and the heart, which the mind is the Sechel, right? The Sechel is, it's not the mind exactly, the Sechel is basically the parts of holiness that belong to me, that they're a part of my kingdom of holiness, but they fell into the other side right now because it's all the sins that I did, or lusts that I have, or time I spent chasing after, money, or other things that I wasn't doing just for the sake of surviving and living in this world and serving Hashem, but it was more just for myself, right? Just so that I can become more more important or more powerful or whatever, more respectful. So and the Nun, that's the Chet, and the Nun is basically the vessel that a person needs, and he needs to strengthen the vessel with the learning of Torah. And through that he connects between the Chet and the Nun, and you get the word Chen, which means like grace. I think that's what they use for that word. So Ledidi, Rabbi Bar Chana was saying, I wanted to come to that reconnecting of my Chet and my Nun, right? So Ledidi, in order to connect it, Chazili Hahi Akrukta. So Chazi Li Hahi is the numerical value of 86, which 86, we said, that's like Reb Nachman says in Torah Aleph, that in order to connect between the Chet and the Nun, you have to do Esek HaTorah, but you have to learn Torah B'koach. And learn Torah B'koach is meaning it's that type of Torah where you take the words of Torah that fell into the Klippa, because we said all the letters of the Torah, that's the Malchut Kedusha, because the world was built, was created through letters. And the way to do it is by learning Torah B'koach, meaning you take all those letters of all those mitzvahs that you fell in, and you took the letters, let's say, are written in a certain way in the Torah, and they say, let's say, not to do this and that, right? And then by a person physically going and doing it, what he did is he changed around the order. He flips the order of the letters, and he turns something that's forbidden into something that's allowed. So what he needs to do now is he needs to take those letters that he flipped, and he needs to flip them back and put them in the right order. And the way to do it is by speaking out those words. That's why in tshuva process you're supposed to say what it is you did, and then, meaning say the actual words of the thing, even though Hashem knows what you did. But the reason why you need to bring it, because you're like a little, creation that like God created. You're like a little image of the entire creation. So you have from within you the Torah and the world and everything. So you need to now take the words of Torah, put them back into the right order by speaking out those words, and then doing the process of vidui, bringing them up before Hashem, focusing on the little nekudot tovot, little mitzvahs from within those things, so that you make sure to judge this thing to favor and not chas v'shalom put yourself down, because then you can't elevate it. So that's ledidi chazili hahi, right? That's why chazili hahi, that I saw the hahi, meaning in order for me to see that redemption, to be able to connect between my mind and my heart, you have to do esek haTorah bekoach. So that's why those three words, chazili hahi, is a numerical value of 86, because 86 is, it's the chet and the nun, which is 58, chen. But to connect the chet and the nun, the mind and the heart, I have to have esek haTorah bekoach. Koach is 28, so together that's 86, 28 and 58. And through that, a person could tap into that, the fixing, hearing the melody of the creation, hearing the good melody, or maybe hearing both melodies in a positive way. And that's what it means, akukta, which is tzipol de'ah, to fix that connection, right, through hearing the melody of that bird. So that's what Rabbi Baruch Chana was saying. And then he said that I saw that it was ke'aka de'agonia, that the frog was like this city or town called, probably a city called Hagonia. So Hagonia comes from the word of garon, and so he was saying that this melody comes from the garon, it comes from the throat. That a person needs to fix the throat, because the throat, like we said, a person takes a breath and then from his lungs he has this wind of life that goes in and then it comes out, and when it comes out, it goes through these 6 different vocal cords or whatever it is that you have from within your windpipe, and as the wind is coming out, it's coming out, and you're using those words to basically just sing the song of creation, which is that positive chesed that Hashem created the world with such chesed and is giving life to everything, right? It's like hearing that positive melody from within you and speaking it to yourself and to other people, and trying to always focus on the positive and on the good. So the fixing of the kingdom of the Kedusha depends on your speech, fixing your speech, which comes from the throat. And that's what it means, that this tzipol de'ah, this bird, meaning this melody, came from a place, right? It was like the size of Akka de Hagonia, meaning is hinting to this city of the throat, right? Which is the lungs and this windpipe. And the size of Akka de Hagonia, the size of this city, hold on one second, was like 60 towns. So what that means is that a person, in order to fix this, he has to learn, like we said, oral Torah. He has to learn Torah at night, which means the oral Torah corresponds to the fixing of the Malchut, and it all depends on going through that process of taking those words of the things you did wrong and flipping them back so that the Torah, those letters are in the right order. And of course, it's always judging yourself favorably and finding the Nekudot Tovot, because that's the key. That's the punchline, is not just doing the vidui and saying what you did wrong, but then you need to make sure that when that judgment goes up, it doesn't go up in a negative way, in a bad way. It has to go up in a positive way, meaning you have to be the one that wins the court case. Sorry, morning. And then it says, Ata tanina bala, v'Rabbeinu Shmuel rabba ka'amar la. And then the snake came, in the story that we said at the beginning, right? Then the snake came and swallowed the frog. So the snake corresponds to basically the other side, right? The other side wants you to learn. When a person learns, and when a person basically brings these words of vidui, when he speaks about all the bad things that he did, so the method is in the world, right, where you're supposed to kind of krechts about it and get down about it and show God how sorry you are by being so depressed for the bad things that you did. So that's kind of like, Rabbi Nachman's talking over here about when a person learns Torah, so then the snake makes you feel like, he makes you feel like you should do it, to become a Rebbe, like Anaim Loch, that I'll take the kingdom to myself. Because when a person learns Torah, he's supposed to be like revealing the kingdom of Hashem, fixing the binyan of Malchut, of holiness, which is all these letters and words, right? So the snake tries to get you to put you down and make you feel like hold on one second. רבנו שמואל רבא כאמר לה, היינו על ידי שילמד שלא לשמה, יבלע אותה הנחש, וזה פרש רבנו שמואל רבא כאמר לה, היינו על ידי שילמד בשביל שיתקרא רבי. עתה פושקנצה ופרש רבנו שמואל עורב, היינו על ידי שילמד בלילה מלשון ערבית. ובא לה, היינו מגן עליו מן הנחש. Anyhow, it's a little bit hard to tie it in over here exactly, but he's saying that the snake that's coming and swallowing it is basically a person. The way in order for a person to fix his malchut kedusha, he has to learn Torah at night, right? And when a person learns, so the snake comes and wants to swallow it by telling you that you should learn for the wrong intention. The way I'm trying to understand it is that when you're learning, when you're doing that whole process, you should do it for the wrong intention, which means not that you're doing it to get gaiva out of it, but if a person brings these things he did wrong before Hashem, and then he falls from that into depression and starts beating himself and knocking himself, so that in a way it's like it's gaiva, even though he thinks that the reason why he's being all sad about the things he did wrong, and not being happy, is it's a good thing, right? It's a mitzvah, but really it's coming from gaiva, because what's going to happen is that's only going to push him even further and further away from Hashem, right? Further away from, fixing the whatever problem it is, whatever things he did wrong, and getting onto the right path. So it's really, in the essence, in the root of it, it's coming from pride, from gaiva. And that's exactly what the snake wants, because as long as a person stays in that state of being far, then whenever a person falls, it all goes to the other side. And then it says that a crow came and swallowed the snake. So a crow, right? A crow is the orev in Shon Arvit, which is nighttime. That when a person learns at nighttime, so it protects him from this snake. Meaning, if a person learns at night, like it says in the Maharsha brought, the chut shel chesed that they say when a person learns at night. So there's a chut, this string of like mercy and chesed is on him, and what that basically means is that in order for a person not to fall into that state of despair and feel that there's no hope and feel that what he did is that there's no way that he can come out of it, the only way to do it is by leaning onto the chesed of Hashem. Right? That's what it means, that a chut shel chesed will be on him. If a person leans onto that mercy of Hashem and realizes, that no matter how far he fell and where he's holding, Hashem will always forgive him, not because he deserves it or anything, but just because of Hashem's mercy, right? To always lean onto that chesed of Hashem. And if it was a melech basar v'adam, right, a human king, he gives you, there's laws, you have to keep the law, you don't keep the law, you get a ticket, you go to jail, right? But with Hashem, it's not like that, because Hashem knows, where we come from and how many tests we're in and all that. So Hashem is always judging us favorably. And then Rabbi Chana said at the end, he said, look how strong, and then it says the crow went and sat on this tree, and look how strong the strength of this tree is. So what that means is, like, Rabbi Chana was like blown away. He couldn't believe the strength of the mercy of Hashem. That Hashem's mercy is on such a high level that we're not talking about like a person who did something good, but he had his intention was a little bit bad. We're talking about someone who has been doing something bad for many, many, many years. Like an aver, it says in the Torah, it's a real big, big sin, right? And he's been doing it for 25, for 30 years, right? The way to fix that and to take all that holiness from within those sins, because it's all mitzvahs from the Torah, and to take it and bring it and make it become a part of you and give you light, so that you can actually get the light from all those mitzvahs, like when we were in Egypt, to get all the gold and silver, which is the sparks of holiness, out of Egypt. What did it take? Those tiny little mitzvahs, right? The mitzvah of the Pesach and Milah. So the same thing over here. Rabbi Chana was blown away that when Hashem created the world, He set it up in such a way that if a person would just judge himself favorably, and he would take those things he did wrong and he would look at them in the right way and find a little nekuda of mitzvah from within it, and then judge the whole thing favorably and bring it up before Hashem, The entire thing, Hashem has such a high level of mercy that He flips the entire thing, and it all becomes good. So Rabbi Bar Chana was like, taken by that. And based on what we set up until now, we can explain the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, where it says, it's in the first parak, first chapter, Aseh lecha rav. A person should make himself a rav, find a rabbi in the city. Ukneh lecha chaver, and you should buy yourself a friend. Ve'ved dan et kol adam lekav zchut, and you should judge every person favorably. So what's aseh lecha rav? You should make a rav. When a person starts hearing this melody, meaning he fixes the binyan of Malchut, he fixes his kingdom of holiness, starting to fix his speech, and hearing this melody. The real hearing of the melody is when a person does this process of vidui, of taking his sins and finding the good from within them and bringing them up in prayer. All these letters we said all the letters are sparks of Kedusha, of holiness. It's like little souls. A person takes all those letters, all those souls, that where the order was flipped, he flips them back by now speaking out the whole thing and bringing it up before Hashem. He finds the little Nekudot Tovot, judges the whole thing favorably, brings it up. What that thing does is it creates a reconnection between his mind and his heart. All of those sparks of holiness, that are a part of his being, a part of his soul, that have been gone and exiled from him all these years, they come back and they reconnect. So that reconnection is the melody, right? Now in the exile, we're hearing the melody of the exile, and when Mashiach comes, when a person comes to that redemption, and his mind and heart reunify, it means that he got the light from all the sins, which is all that part of Torah that's been separated from him because he just didn't have access to it and didn't know how to get it. And that's the reason why he was in his exile. So when a person reconnects, that's when he starts hearing the melody. So a person should create a rav, right? He should make for himself a rabbi, that by hearing this melody, a person fixes his malchut kedusha. And this is what it means, aseh lecha rav, that you should make yourself a rabbi, hainu sheyetaken bechinat malchut. So what it means is that a person needs to fix his kingdom of holiness, right? Fix that, the revealing godliness from within his entire being. Because right now you might even understand in your mind that there's a God in the world, right? There's godliness. But that understanding has an effect and controls my entire body and my desires and everything, that's already another whole story, right? So when a person reconnects, it means that his understanding of godliness in the world is in such a strong way, it's affecting his entire body. It's affecting the whole kingdom, right? The king is running the entire kingdom. So how do you do that? By aseh lecha rav. So what aseh lecha rav doesn't mean to go and find yourself a rabbi. Rav corresponds to Esav. Rav corresponds to all the sparks of holiness that are stuck on the other side. Like when Yaakov Avinu wanted to give a little present to Esav, right? A present to, a mincha. When he met him after all the years by Lavan, he came back and he saw Esav and he wanted to give him a present. Esav was like, no, yesh li Rav, I have Rav. So it's brought in the Arizal that the Rav he was talking about, it's the 202 sparks of holiness that were elevated. The ones, basically the 288 sparks that fell from the sin of Adam Arishon, and Esav had 202 of them. And that's why Yosef HaTzadik was the one who actually, all those 22 years in Egypt, he subdued the Sar of Esav, the angel of Esav, which is in charge of the empire of Egypt. And we know that when he collected all the food from everywhere, and then he stored it, and then he started selling it and taking everybody's gold and silver and money and animals and everything, he basically was taking all the sparks of holiness that fell from the sin of Adam Arishon and were in the hands of the other side of the angel of Esav. He took them all out. Right? Yitzbol Yosef bar, right? Kechol asher, that he collected bar. So the Arizal says bar, those 202 sparks of holiness that Esav said, Yesh li Rav, I have those, they're in my possession. Yosef HaTzadik took them all out of him. So aseh lecha rav, meaning you need to make for yourself a rav. You need to take back those sparks of holiness in order to fix your malchut kedusha, in order to reveal the kingdom, right? The kingdom of the Yud-Kei into the Vav-Kei, into your entire to reveal the king into the entire kingdom. And how do you do that? How do you do that? By kneh lecha chaver. Hainu al yedei kaneh. So kneh lecha chaver, right? Make yourself a rav, get yourself all those sparks of holiness by buying yourself a friend. So kneh means the kaneh. Kaneh is the windpipe's called a kaneh in Hebrew. And by making your windpipe, right, your friend, which means by fixing the kingdom of holiness. But how do you fix it? Through the speech. When a person takes all those words of Torah that he fell in and he brings them into prayer, into speech, the way we spoke about, by that he can fix his kingdom of holiness. Because he basically, shahakol yotze mimena, right, the windpipe that the voice, the sound, the speech comes out of, and through that, mechaber shnei hakuvim liot panim befanim, kema'ar ish veloyot, bizman sheYisrael osin etzono shel makom. Like it says, basically through that he takes the two kruvim, right, which we know are all the prophecy, which is that melody comes out from the kruvim that were on top of the Holy of Holies, the two little birds, right, little babies with wings, and they're not facing each other, and then they turn towards each other, which means the mind and heart that are now facing away, when we're not doing the Ratzon of Hashem, which means the body's going in one way and the mind is going another way. They have two different understandings, they're not one, so that's the kruvim are separated. But when a person fixes his binyan malchut d'kedusha through the speech and this whole vidui we spoke about, he fixes all the letters that were flipped and he turns them back, and then the kruvim face each other. And when the kruvim face each other, that's the mind and the heart reconnecting. ואזי כשיתקן בחינת מלכות שלו ויוכל למשול בכל מה שירצה, ויוכל להעמיד לזה ולהחיות לזה, נמצא עולם חרב. So what's going to happen if a person fixes his malchut d'kedusha and his mind and heart reconnect, then he basically, like we said in lesson 1, that if a person that is on that level and reconnects between the mind and the heart, the chet and the nun, then his any word that comes out of his mouth in prayer, any requests he asks Hashem, it's like Moshe Rabbeinu, that he wanted something, he just went to the Oil Moed, he spoke to Hashem, and Hashem answered him, like he got an answer immediately. He had this direct connection. So when a person has that, all of his prayers, everything will get answered. Then a person could just, if he has like bad characteristics or gets upset with someone, and says something, curses someone, he could chas v'shalom destroy the world, right? His power, he could do anything he wants. Like we know that it says in the Gemara that tzaddik, when he says something, even if he takes it back, as soon as he says it, it goes out. You can't stop it. It like gets answered immediately. And that tzaddik they're talking about in the Gemara is a person who reconnected between his mind and his heart. Now the kruvim are facing each other, so there's access to come into the Holy of Holies and speak whatever words come out of your mouth. Hashem answers immediately. So that's why the last part of the Pirkei Avot, so first, Aselech harav, you need to bring and take back all those sparks of holiness, and the way to do it is by fixing the speech, right? By fixing the throat, and through that the kruvim come back, your mind and heart reconnect. And then it says, Ve'vedanit kol adam lekav zchut. The last part of the pasuk there is, and make sure to judge everybody favorably. That you need to always judge everyone favorably, because God doesn't want the destruction of the world. Hashem didn't build the world, right? For no reason, for tohu. Hashem built it in order to yetzara, to create new things, to build things, and that's basically that pasuk, right? The fixing of the malchut d'kedusha. ובשביל זה מרגלה בפומה דהנה שעכשיו לומר שהחזנים הם שוטים ואינם בני דעה. That's why people say, he brings over here a source of where it says in Otzar Yad HaChaim, I'm not sure what that book is, but it says over there that people, are regular, people talk about that. The chazanim, the people who get up and speak before, the rabbis who get up and give over speeches, or people who get up and daven in the shul, that's what a chazan is. But like we said at the beginning, that a chazan is from the word of prophecy, shon chazon. That the melody comes from it's called a chazon. When a person receives a prophecy, it's called a chazon. And chazon is like the word of chazan, which is Chazan is the person who gets up and gives over, gives over or Dvar Torah or leads the prayer at shul. It's called a Chazan. So that's actually a prophet. So they say that the prophets today, Chazanim today, they don't have the da'at, right? They're not b'nei de'ah because there's a separation between the heart and the mind. They don't have, the kruvim are not facing each other, so they don't have that fixing of Malchut Kedusha. So the songs that they bring down, the melodies they bring down, it's just kind of all coming from the head, right? Like I saw Reb Shlomo, I'm sure there were other tzaddikim as well, who mamash had that connection between the mind and the heart. And when they brought down melodies, it was like the reason why he had so many melodies that kept coming down is because as soon as you connect the heart and the mind, then you're connected to that melody. You're hearing the melody of the creation. And you're open to receiving the prophecy, because we said the melodies come from melody and prophecy, chazon and chazan, right? The melody and the prophecy come from the same place, which are the kruvim. So once they connect, they turn face to face, and the mind and heart are reconnected, then the gateway of melodies is open. That's Reb Shlomo, I think there's a story that he said that, I don't know exactly, I heard once that he met some old guy somewhere and he gave him the secret of melody. So maybe he taught him the secret of how to reconnect the mind and the heart, and through that the gateway of melody opened up. But now in the galut, in the exile that we're in, and a person doesn't have that connection, so when he gets up and he's, sings a song in shul or whatever, he makes up a melody, it's just coming from the head. It's a melody that he thought of, but it's not coming with a connection, with this reunification of his heart and his mind. ועל כן הנגינה שהיא נמשכת מעתן דבניים מבחינת מוחין ודעת מלכות דקדושה, עכשיו שמלכות בגלות, ועל כן הנגינה נפגמת. Because the malchut, the kingdom, is in exile, so all the melodies are blemished. ועל כן החזנים הם בלא דעת, כי אין להם כוח עכשיו להמשיך הנגינה משורשה שבקדושה. They just don't have strength to draw down the melodies right now from its source of holiness, because the kruvim are not face to face. שהיא בחינת מוחין ודעת של מלכות דקדושה. אבל לעתיד שיתעלה מלכות דקדושה, but in the future, when a person comes to this redemption and Malchut Kedusha gets uplifted, שיהיה Hashem למלך על כל הארץ, that Hashem will be king on the entire land, which means there'll be that the king will be ruling over the land, it will reconnect, אזי תתעלה ותושלם הנגינה בבחינת דעת דמלכות דקדושה. So the melody will be the melody will be sorry about that. The melody will be fixed, because it'll be coming from its source, basically. When a person starts hearing that melody of the redemption again, that's when everything's going to reconnect, and a person's going to really start. Well, every person's going to be opened and just